Celebrating the people and businesses that are the driving force of the local economy.
We've somewhere between tripled and quadrupled our company.
News Talk 98.7 WOKI and the Knox Area Chamber Partnership present Business Knoxville. Business Knoxville.
We're really here to train people to go get to work.
The driving force of the local economy.
And so I just started hobbling together some systems and made a couple of sales out of my bedroom.
Business Knoxville on News Talk 98.7. Here's your host, Hallerin-Hill.
We welcome to the broadcast today, Richard Rackley with Fountainhead College of Technology. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know what? I love my father, and the shaping influence that he had on my life. He passed on a couple of years ago, and it's just now that I'm starting to fully understand how being around him shaped me.
Right.
And I know that Fountainhead College of Technology, this is a second generation thing for you because your father had a profound impact on your life, and he was there before you. So I'd like to start there in our interview. Welcome to the show. Tell me about your dad.
His name is Ronald Rackley, and he started, got into electronics in the Air Force. And after he got out of the Air Force, he started teaching at what was Tennessee Institute of Electronics. And at some point there, he got the opportunity to become part owner and then complete owner of the college back in the 70s. And I was born in the late 60s, I guess, not to be too specific. And my earliest memory of visiting my father at work is going to see him at Tennessee Institute of Electronics. So I feel like I was kind of built from the ground zero to do this job. So,
right.
And now I'm the president of the college, and he's still with us, but he's retired and does whatever he wants now.
What does he think of what you've done? Because the school is, there are technology institutes, but I think one of the things that I respect most about Fountainhead is that people are getting jobs.
Yeah.
And they're getting really good jobs. And you guys have been really keen on where's the market, not today, 5 years, 10 years out.
Right.
So that by the time they finish matriculating, they're ready for the market of that day. That's one. But two, the efficiency with which you move people through. So you've shortened the amount of time that it takes,
right,
and you've really grown it. When your dad looks at that, what does he think of that? And that'll lead us into a conversation about the growth strategy that you've had.
Well, and part of this, it grows from his philosophy, which was, people come to Tennessee Institute of Electronics and now Fountainhead College because they want to learn a trade and get to work. They're not necessarily looking for the college experience of football games and frat parties and stuff like that. And that's great. I'm a graduate from Tennessee Institute of Electronics myself, so I know what those students went through. And I'm a graduate from University of Tennessee, so I know what that experience is like. So we shortened it down to a 16-month associate degree. We do a bachelor's degree in 32 months, and that's assuming they don't take any time off. But so we're year-round. We have break schedules and stuff like that, like any college. But we're really here to train people to go get to work and to have a lifelong career from this training, to where they once you get into technology, you're constantly learning because it's constantly evolving. Right. But our graduates don't necessarily feel like they have to go back to school necessarily because we've given them such a strong foundation in technology that they can grow from there. Some do. But
so how did you design the growth? Because and kind of walk me through where the school was and where it is now as a measure of the kind of growth that has happened.
Sure. Well, I guess back in the mid-'80s, we purchased the building that we're in now, which used to be Smithwood Elementary School over in the Fountain City area. And that's about the same time that other technical colleges started coming into Knoxville. And so we were rather large when we bought the property, and then we shrank a little bit. But that really gave the administration then, I was in high school at the time, an opportunity to refocus. And, we're really good at what we do. We really understand the technology. I got out of high school and went through Tennessee Institute of Electronics and became a computer technician back in the late 80s. So think about computers in the late 80s.
Right. So we're thinking TRS-80, early Windows, right, Commodore,
right,
Apple II.
Right. Those were all my toys growing up. You just named them, right? I learned about being a computer tech with Windows 3.11, DOS 6.22. That'll ring a few bells for some people. I really loved working with the technology, and I got the opportunity to come back to the college and start teaching. And at the same time, I was going to University of Tennessee.
Now, what were you teaching?
At the time, I was just teaching basic electronics. So AC, DC, solid state, all that kind of soldering and all that kind of
Now,
fun
you grew
stuff.
up in, immersed in this, so you love this. This was second nature.
Right. I'm very passionate about all that. And, as a teenager, I would go into the college on weekends and, literally clean the bathrooms, mop the floors. And then when I was done with all that, I would go into the lab and build things with the soldering iron and learn about how the components work. So I had a little bit of an edge by the time I got out of high school with the technology.
Now, based on when you grew up, there was one set of kids when they said AC/DC, they were
rock and roll.
They were talking rock and roll,
Yeah.
and you were talking something else. By the way, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Business Knoxville. I'm Hallerin-Hill, and our guest today is Richard Rackley with the Fountainhead College of Technology, and we're right in the middle of his story. So you're there, and you're teaching basic electronics as you're going to the University of Tennessee.
Right.
Now, do you have in mind, I'm going to run this one day, or are you just living your passion?
A little bit of both. My wife said, this is a pretty good area to be in. You may want to think about sticking around. And I was like, you think so? I just thought I'd work for my dad for a little while and then move on and do something else. But, the more we looked at it, the more we saw the great opportunity there. And I'll never forget, it was around 1988 or so. I was watching a special on PBS called Triumph of the Nerds. And it was about the early years of Apple and Microsoft and IBM. Not the early years of
Right.
IBM, but when the PC, the early years of the PC, the IBM PC. And I was just inspired by these guys that created something from nothing, literally from their garage. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak created the first Apple I computer. It was made of wood. Okay, the case was. That's how far back it went.
Don't you love that? I love that.
Yeah, it just inspired me and I was like, you know what? I have a garage. I need to make something. And that's the next day I sat down and started writing about my experience as a computer technician. And at the time, there were no schools focusing on computer technology and computer networking and stuff. So I created this program in information technology, and we got it launched in 1999. And I'm really proud of the fact that our program was launched about 2 or 3 months before any of the other local colleges got into this associate degree in information technology. But as
now
almost
everybody's
everyone
is trying to do it now.
Yeah.
Richard Rackley is my guest. You're listening to Business Knoxville. I'm Hallerin-Hill, and on this show, we celebrate the people and the businesses that really form the cornerstone or the engine of the local economy, and we're glad to have Richard with us today. I'm thinking here about, it's one thing to think, okay, I'm going to teach this. It's another one to design a curriculum and to put it in place and to have it, I don't know the right term here, but to have it validated. In other words, you can go take these courses and have people take you seriously.
Right. Yeah.
How did you do that?
Well, I started with what I knew, which was computer repair and a lot of the basics in the networking. Growing up with all these toys like the Commodore and the TRS-80 and stuff like that, I kind of got a preview of what computers could do. And, I talked to a lot of friends from high school that say that being at my house after school was their first experience with a computer. And so I was that guy.
Right.
I had the computer. And, we just gamed with it mostly. We would do a little programming, but mostly it was just to have fun with. And these were computers that my father had been using in his office, and when he upgraded, he would send one home. I just kind of saw what computers could do, and the good and the bad, and thought, this could get scary if it's not, taken care of properly. And we see that now. You can just watch the news almost any night, and you hear about something kind of hack.
Yeah.
And so, that's part of it. And so I feel like I had a really good understanding of how all that works. And so, I started writing this curriculum, and I wrote my dream curriculum. I wrote the curriculum I wanted for myself if I was going to go back to college. And so, there's a whole semester on Microsoft networking because I knew that they were going to take over the networks, and they have. And then there's a whole semester on Novell networking, which has now evolved into Linux. because Novell has kind of gone the direction of Linux. But, a lot of people don't realize Novell is still heavily used in government work. It's considered more secure than the Microsoft network. It's just not necessarily as easy to get around in. But all that changes day to day. And there's a semester, we kind of call it the soft skills semester, where you learn about graphics and an intro to programming, intro to databases. A database is the core of almost everything. And any video game has a database that everything is kind of stacked up in. And so we just kind of give everyone a good set of skills so that they can go any direction they want once they get into the IT field. So, I surrounded myself with other experts that knew more about these specific areas than I did. But I really had a good understanding of the first several levels, I guess you could say. Yeah. And so, we wrote the program. I sent it to the state for approval. They said, well, this is the thinnest program we've ever received. And I'm like, well, I didn't know what I was doing necessarily. I'm just following what it says is required. And I think I've met all the requirements. And they agreed, and it was approved. We got it accredited by the Accrediting Commission. And then we launched in the fall of 1999.
That is an amazing story. Amazing story. If you want to learn more about Fountainhead, the website is fountainheadcollege.edu. Richard Rackley is my guest. This is Business Knoxville. So, how many students do you have now? How many have been through? Mm-hmm. And what are your major course offerings?
Well, let's see. I don't have all those numbers off the top of my head, but we have currently around 170 students. So, that means we have small classes. That's part of our jingle. Small classes, personal attention.
Right.
Let's see. I have about 45 employees, and the major offerings that we still have an electronics associate degree, although because manufacturing has kind of gone away, the need for that has kind of shrunk a little bit. But so we're taking that in the direction of precision instrumentation and communications. And so we have a bachelor program in electronic wireless communication. A lot of people think that wireless is all done. We're good. But we're not. I mean, these networks are struggling to keep up with the load. And, these towers that we see out here, they're connected to a wired network somewhere, and all that equipment has to be upgraded all the time. And, our society is devouring content like crazy. And so with the smartphones and PDAs and iPads and stuff like that, so the need for more and more wireless connectivity is there. And we also have the IT associate degree, and that feeds into a bachelor program in network security and digital forensics. And that program has just gone, crazy.